Okay, so I'm here with Ike James, who's a student at UCLan, who's just started his second year studying BA Music Production and Performance. So thank you, Ike, for speaking with me today. If we start off by talking about sort of your journey as an artist, so how did it all start out for you, and sort of when did you realise you was developing a strong interest in music?
Um, I've always had like an interest in music ever since I was younger, and sort of in my early teens, started to get playing with people who were also interested and started forming, little bands, that kind of thing, and then um, took it at school and had a really good teacher, and then went on to college and progressed through there and met lots of really talented people, and kind of spurred me on to try harder, and practice harder, and then when I got through college, I took two sets of music courses at college, and then moved through to uni, and I've just been constantly trying to sort of learn and progress. It was when I got to college that I was starting to learn how to record, and I became really interested in that as well as the performing side of it. So I decided to take a course that combined both of those things, and both of them into one.
Yeah, and what was it you started out with then? Because obviously you're a singer and you play guitar. I don't know if you play anything else, but what was it you started out with then?
I started out playing drums. My stepdad's a drummer, so he kind of taught me on that, and I kind of started out that way. But I always had a real interest in singing, and it was always sort of my position. I wanted to front the band. Like if I was to play in a band, I'd want to be sort of at the front and center, So as much as I enjoy drumming, I decided I was going to pick up a stringed instrument in the hope that it might give me more of a chance of fronting the band. So I started playing bass, and then moved on to guitar, and now I play a bit of each, and just kind of, it works well because if I want to go and play in bands, I can kind of pick up anywhere
Yeah.
that they need me to be, and especially on my own at home recording, the fact that I can understand and play different instruments makes the recording process a lot easier.
Yeah. And you just started your second year of your degree. So how have you found your course so far?
It's really interesting. I'm learning lots of things that you wouldn't normally think about. I feel like can be guilty of, in terms of mixing and recording music, of trying to think of it as this straightforward process, and it's opened my eyes to lots of different techniques and ways of trying things that you wouldn't necessarily normally try out. And I find it very interesting so far. I've been able to work with lots and lots of different talented musicians from loads of different backgrounds, and loads of different interesting genres of music, which has been able to help me sort of expand my knowledge on different ways of recording and different ways of making music.
Nice. So do you feel like you've progressed or already as an artist then, since starting the course?
I still think I've got a long way to go. I wouldn't say by any means that I was done yet, but I think in terms of this first year, I feel like I've been able to progress a lot from where I was when I came into the university. And I've had some really great lecturers and some really great lessons taught to me, and some good techniques that have helped me sort of progress my recording process and my performance process, and ways of going about performing. And as I'm sort of progressing and gigging more regularly at the same time, I think it really helps that I'm able to use my university skills and combine them with what I'm doing outside of university at the same time to help better myself as a musician overall.
And it must have been strange to sort of finish your first year in lockdown. So was continuing to sort of write and record songs during a period a good way to sort of keep yourself motivated?
That was an awkward one. The university were great at setting us up, but it was kind of weird. I was working, and I'd sort of sacked off my job the week that we'd come into lockdown, and so it was a massive change at the time. But they helped us adapt pretty quickly, and it was interesting. I was working on software that I wouldn't normally use, but I kind of getting to grips with it and stuff like that was sort of another lesson and another thing to overcome. And it was, I found it really interesting, and I was quite happy to throw myself into it. It didn't take me aback. I think a lot of the students were okay, like quite quickly afterwards, and were able to adapt to it fairly quickly, which was good.
So if we move on then to your release, so you wrote and recorded your song City Lights, which is going to be released by UCLan Recordings on November 13th. So tell me a bit about the track then, and sort of the process you went through creating the song and how it came about.
Yeah, so I mean, I always start with writing my chord progressions first, and then normally I have maybe at least 10 or 20 songs that I'm always working on, trying to develop, and I'll sort of write bits of songs and come back to them if I find something else that I feel like I could work with it. But yeah, I mean, this song, I really liked the feel for it, and I knew what I was going to write it about, so it all kind of came into one. I've always had an interest in sort of poetry and musicians who can write clever lyrics. And I mean, I took English language at A level. I've always been very interested in writing stories, and I feel like lyric writing is like a strong point for me in most songs, like meaning behind lyrics. And so when I wrote this song, I had kind of the feel for it, like I said, and it all just kind of came into one. I think I wrote it in less than an hour. It's just all kind of came into one that as just kind of blended in. It was not how I normally record things. Normally, sort of writing songs would take me a few weeks to sort of finish them all off. But I mean, the song in its form is simple, and I felt that that's how it needed to be, and it made the sort of writing process a lot easier.
Yeah, so was this a song you made during lockdown then?
Yeah, I wrote it during lockdown. It was after I finished all my uni work for the year. I don't normally have software at home, and I had access to some software, so I started recording things from home. I started recording covers and my own songs, and this was one that I created during lockdown. I thought I might as well just put the demo down, and then saw the advertisement for the recordings and thought I'll send it in and see what they say.
I know you mentioned before about liking a lot of different genres. You mentioned before about Bob Dylan. I can see the Foo Fighters poster in the background. So I wonder, is this something you sort of want to continue experiment with as you progress, or are you looking to sort of continue your style as an acoustic singer-songwriter?
I've always been interested in, I'd say rock music is probably my most where my heart lies in terms of music, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I turn down other genres of music. And I really enjoy when I write songs. I write them for me. I struggle to write quicker, more upbeat songs. I feel the need to write kind of slower, more personal songs. I write them as if it's just going to be me and a guitar. And I mean, if I had a band that I thought I would record with, then I'm sure I'd be able to sort of piece things together as I knew the members and whatever the strengths and weaknesses were. And I'm sure that it would be easier then to sort of have, okay, well, we'll make it fit this feel, if I knew how those musicians would have played. But for now, just as I'm playing on my own, I feel like it's me just writing for me. I feel like I'd stick at this genre until something new came up. But it's not to say that I won't sort of change up what I'm doing. It wouldn't just be the same thing all the time. But I think as far as in terms of me just writing for me and myself and a guitar, I don't think I could see myself going massively away from what I do now.
And lastly then, if it's very early days obviously in your music career, as we're about to see your first single be released, but what would you say are some of your biggest ambitions then looking to the future?
Well, I mean, obviously everybody wants to be successful in the industry, but the industry's hard to get into. So if that doesn't go through, then I'd love to teach. I have an interest in in teaching music, and that's always been something that I've been quite passionate about. I've taught drums to younger children, and I've always had like a just interest in being able to do it for a living, regardless of, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be big or go and do gigs or whatever all the time. But, if I was able to play in a covers band and teach during the day, that would be fine. As long as I'm doing what I love, I don't care where it is or who it's with, or how big the project is. It's just for the fun of it,
I miss the hand I used to hold on. And who says when you